At some point this year, my new hunting game Obsession will be released. The Axis Unseen is a heavy metal horror game created by one of the developers that worked on Skyrim and Fallout. And while it doesn't have a release date yet, the game is feature complete and is on track to launch in 2024. Believe it or not, this is the work of one solo developer, aside from the music. Nate Perkypile is his name, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about his game. This is a fantastical spin on the hunting sim genre, and many of the creatures in the game are inspired by ancient folklore. The bigger the beast, the better the reward you'll get. You can collect their enhanced scent powers and other helpful upgrades that are all written down in your trusty journal. A few of the creatures that have been named so far are the horned beast, which lives in the forest and has a rarity of common. Same with Bigfoot and the regular werewolf. But the obsidian werewolf is a rare creature that's darker and harder to see. They should be pretty easy to take down as long as we spot them first. There are also these mysterious giant tree guys and a bunch of others that we're not going to know what to make of, like a giant sand vortex that slowly creeps towards you. With the more powerful monsters especially, we need to go into things with a plan. Approach from the right angle so the wind doesn't give away our location. Follow tracks and blood trails before they go cold. That sort of stuff. The main upgrade system here allows us to enhance our senses. In order to do so, we'll have to collect the death currency by killing creatures and head on over to this altar. Here we have 5 choices, each marked with a different symbol. Spirit, which affects our death currency and arrow pickup radius. Earth, our health. Air for stealth. Water to control our stress and heart rate. And fire for our strength, or how long we can hold the bow back. In addition to these basic stat upgrades, there are also special powers found out in the wilderness. For example, this is the Tremors power, found in the forest region. This power gives you the ability to sense when something is nearby. The tattoo associated with it will flare up and make a sound whenever something is detected. The color also changes from cool to warm based on how big the creature is, and if they're not moving, it won't detect them at all. I'm not sure how many powers we can collect, but there are 6 different regions in this world, each one with its own distinct color palette and feel. They have their own weather patterns, rain that actually makes surfaces wet, fog that swirls around hiding creatures. And there are actually no official plans yet for a map, so instead you'll be navigating using landmarks. This shouldn't be that hard to do though, because there are a lot of points of interest in these trailers alone that really stick out, like these giant skeletons. Nate has talked about potentially adding a map to our journal, but there definitely won't be a mini-map or floating icons. In fact, you may have noticed that there's no obstructive UI at all. Everything we need exists in the game world, like the tattoos on our hands and the markings on our bow. In the vein of Skyrim, Nate wants to create a world that doesn't just feel big and empty, and instead you have your next goal off in the distance, something that's more tangible and rewarding to get to. The game actually does remind me of Skyrim in a lot of ways, just more colorful and unusual. There's something about walking up over a hill and seeing some sort of shrine in the distance, stumbling upon a monster as you're on the way there, and getting completely sidetracked. And get this, the Axis Unseen has almost no textures, just flat colors. But all of the detail in the terrain's geometry casts shadows and gives it this super detailed look anyways. If you want to learn more about Nate's experience designing the game and his thoughts on the industry in general, I highly recommend his recent interview with NoClip, which I've linked below. Some other things I want to mention before wrapping up. There are 4 main arrow types that can be purchased at the altar. Wood, your standard arrow that can be restocked for free. Metal, these control the direction of the wind and do extra damage. Water, arrows that can be manually detonated and slow down time for anything caught in their bubble. And fire, which, burns things. The arrows can also apparently be combined in, quote, a lot of ways. This includes simpler ideas like using wind arrows to make the fire spread faster, but I'm sure there will also be some more unexpected and powerful combos for dealing with certain enemies. The story of the Axis Unseen is pretty vague. Our goal is to find out what happened to the hunters who came before us, their secrets and knowledge, and then we somehow use that to stop all these creatures from escaping into our world. I am pretty interested in learning more about the lore with this one. It seems to me like this game is going to be an instant hit, honestly. Nate Perkypile has 20 years of game development experience. He knows what works and what doesn't, and is actively focused on avoiding mistakes he's seen in the past and implementing features and mechanics that he's excited about. As someone who's played a bit of the Hunter Call of the Wild and who likes magical fantasy stuff, this one's right up my alley. So keep your eyes peeled for a release date and check these out in the meantime.